Ladies and gents, you guys know what time it is. Welcome back once again. All things covered. Pat Peterson, Bryant McFadden, another outstanding, entertaining, conversational episode for you guys to enjoy. Remember, if this is your first time checking us out, I tip my hat to you. Thank you, even though I don't have a brim on. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to get your eyes and your ears. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Also, tell a friend to tell a friend about what we got going on. Very candid conversations, talking about everything, hence the name, All Things Covered. For this episode, it's not just pertaining to sports. It's about issues that are involving a sports-related superstar. But before we get to the content of this episode, let me bring in my guest, Shabazz the OG. You can find him on social media, Instagram at Shabazz the OG on Instagram. Shabazz is an outstanding individual, jack of many trades, master of all. When you talk about social media influencer, that's who he is. The money team motivator. Yes, he's good friends with Floyd Mayweather, the legend. He's the guy that gets everything rolling in regards to the money team. Motivational speaker, author, community activist. Like I said, jack of many trades, master of all. Shabazz, thank you for joining me. How you doing? How you feeling?
Oh, man, you got all things covered with that intro, baby. I like that.
I got to, my guy, man. Thank you for joining us, man. But before we get into, our conversation, let's talk a little bit about you personally, man. How would you describe your path to where you are currently now?
If I use one word, it would be organic. Mm-hmm. If I use one word, it'll be organic, BMac. Like what people are witnessing me do on social media, right? Is not something that I initially set out to do. It's not something that I intended to do. It's not something that I saw coming, myself. When I started on social media, it was pretty much like everybody else, posting, nightlife, posting your everyday regular life, little jokes, memes here and there. And then it just took off on its own after a post that I put up that was reposted by Meek Mill. That's when the page became more noticed by the masses. And the more I posted content, the more I talked about our culture, the more I talked about society, the more I started to see a connection between me and the people on my platform. And it channeled into me speaking behind the scenes quite often, in the DM, on the phone, to young men who didn't have father figures and brothers, to women who were looking for advice, for their sons, from men who were looking for advice in their relationships. It was almost like everything that I was discussing, I was speaking from a place of experience and knowledge and wisdom and things that I've done, that people started to resonate and relate to where I was coming from. And they wanted my personal opinion. And I always have been interactive on the platform. I answer all DMs. I still answer all DMs. I interact in the comment section, and again, like I said, I talk to people, off Instagram, on the phone, like, in real time. So what we're witnessing now is just a combination of an organic interaction along with me being consistent with the platform, and this is what we got now.
And if you guys haven't really been following Shabazz the OG, make sure you give him a follow on Instagram so you can actually see what he just expressed to us in regards to the content, the back and forths that his content provides. I mean, quality, respectful responses, you know what I mean? And also just being able to tap into a lot of the things that we're talking about daily in our everyday life that we all pay attention to and we catch wind of. In regards to the following that you've been able to create for yourself, what has been the biggest surprise for you and everything that you've been able to do? And also, too, give us a little bit about your background and your experiences and being able to be the man that you currently, we currently see today.
The background I'll start with, and then I'll get to what surprised me the most about the platform. The background, man, that brought me to where I am now is just honestly, dog, me being me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I always been this guy. I've always been genuine. I've always been family oriented. I've always been loyal. Once I became of age to be able to give advice and people lean on my opinion, I've always been that voice of reason and for my friends, and family. So it's like the masses and the platform are just really getting a glimpse of what so many people already know about me. Like, I didn't become this for social media. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tap into a part of me, but like, oh man, this would be good for social media. Like, social media could use this. Like, that never happened. Like, I literally speak on social media the way I do in my everyday life. I give the type of insight, intel, the dialogue that I share. This is how I really talk. I talk, when it comes to advising my friends, I'm not a yes man. I'm not a do boy. I'm going to tell you what it is, not what it might be. Depending on who you are, I'm going to always deliver it with some type of love and compassion if I know you well enough. And even then, if it's a conversation that I've had with you that's becoming repetitive, you're going to get it delivered to you a different type of way now,
Mm-hmm.
with a different type of energy. So my thing is, authenticity is what you guys are witnessing. That's what brought me here, being myself. And that's why it comes across to people the way it does. Like, I've had different people at different times say to me that they've been watching my page, never commented, never said anything. But on I can think off the top of my head, 3 different occasions, someone DM'd me to tell me that I've been watching you to see when you were going to be inconsistent. And
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I don't always agree with you, but you're very consistent with what you believe in, what you do, and how you do it. And I got to take my hat off you. Like, I've had different people say that to me. So it's like, people really be watching, and they be watching to see if you're one of these people that's just coming on here, pouring gas on situations, or are you just doing this for likes and views? Or are you really coming on here giving a real honest approach and opinion, and you really trying to help people? And because I'm so genuine and I'm really being my authentic, genuine self, it comes across like that. And that's why the page moves the way it does.
Got you.
So that's what brought me from my past to now, just me being myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And go ahead.
and I was going to, and to the second part of your question, what surprised me the most, the biggest surprise was me and Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be the biggest surprise, because I didn't know him prior to my social media. We met in 2017, 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because my late friend Kichi, who just passed away, was his assistant at the time. And she reached out to me and told me that he had been watching the page, told me that he likes what I do, extended an invitation for me to come to his 40th birthday. And then I was on Instagram Live one night, and then he was in the live. And everybody else on the live noticed it before I did. And they was like, oh shit, champ in here. And then I seen him, and I'm like, oh, and I'm speaking. I'm like, what's up? And he was, he speak back. And I tell him, that Kichi told me, about the party. I'll be there. I told him that, she said he had some money team give for me. And he was like, yeah, I got some give for you, but I got a bag for you too. So I'm like, this is all happening on my Instagram Live.
Yeah.
So it just took me back, BMac, it took me back to something that my mother raised me and my siblings on, which was always do your best to exude exemplary behavior.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's watching.
Facts.
And and my friendship, my brotherhood, my family ties with Floyd now is a testament to what my mom taught me. Like, if I was a sucker, or if I was on Instagram being goofy, if I was just, just doing everyday, regular, run-of-the-mill things, he wouldn't have resonated with me. There would have been no need to say, I want to meet this guy, invite him to my 40th birthday party, and then we become friends and ultimately like family.
Yeah.
That's all because of how I was raised and how I conduct myself. So that had to be probably the most, memorable or most exciting part about my tenure thus far on social media.
No question. No question. Great story right there involving the champ, Floyd Mayweather. But let's go ahead and jump into the nitty gritty in regards to what this conversational setting gonna be about, right? If you're a fan of sports, if you're not a fan of sports, if you just watch TV or you listen or you just, navigate, you kind of know what everybody is talking about. Ja Morant, NBA superstar, one of the best players at his positions, one of the best players in the game, extremely young still, but overly talented. You don't question what Ja does on the court. You don't question what he does when he has that ball in his hand. But unfortunately, Ja has been on the wrong end of the stick in regards to negative pub, right? Let me give you a timeline for our listeners and our viewers that are tuning in. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys know about this story or know of this story. But going back to September 22, he was involved in a lawsuit for punching a 17-year-old in the face during a pickup game. March 2023, suspended 8 games for a gun incident where he was in a nightclub, took a picture of himself with a gun. If you're an NBA player, you know you can't do that. Did a public apology. Everyone was like, okay, forgive, let go, let's move on. Of course, because of that suspension, he was not selected to the All-NBA team because he was suspended, which cost him nearly $40 million. $40 million. Likely, if he was not suspended, he probably would have made the All-NBA team, which would have given him an extra $40 million towards the contract. Most recently, a few days ago, Memphis Grizzlies suspended him from any team-related activities for flashing a gun once again on Instagram. And I've been following you, Shabazz, and I know you already talked about this. And I love having these conversational like pieces where I call it barbershop talk. When you go in a barbershop shop, this guy got an opinion, this person got an opinion, everybody's kind of giving their opinion about the story. But how should we be viewing this Ja Morant situation based on what has happened over the last month and a half or so with 2 gun-related incidents?
The situation is going to be viewed based on a number of things, BMac. It's going to be viewed based on your level of maturity. It's going to be viewed based on your level of experience about life and living. It's going to be viewed based on your capacity to identify with a young Black male that come from where he comes from and into this amount of money. So let's go with the person who's looking at it from a place of experience, like myself.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that's looking at this from a place of experience understands where he's headed if he don't start listening. See, I wrote a book, right? My book is titled Flip Your Life. And that book details my life from inception to now. Not everything in totality, but a lot of excerpts from my life. And on the back of my book, there's a paragraph that I quoted my mother that said, "You're going to learn everything the hard way because you don't listen." And this is what my mother told me when I was 7 years old. Not listening is the root of a lot of the issues that we see, in our younger generation. Ja Morant, in my opinion, is guilty of not listening. Now, let's just go in another direction for a second, where people blame parents for the children's behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say Ja Morant's mother hasn't been the greatest example. Let's say his father hasn't been the greatest example. Let's say his friends aren't the greatest comrades. Let's say his upbringing hasn't done him any justice towards him bettering himself as a young professional athlete, right? Let's say all of those things could be the case. Once he started getting in trouble, you have people like yourself, you have people like Shannon Sharp, you have people like Stephen A. Smith, you have people like other sportscasters, other athletes, present and former, who started to speak about this behavior, right? And offer advice. Say you should do this and not do that. This is the way you should be going. So when people start, he has social media, and just like everybody else does, he even did an interview with Jalen Rose where he apologized, said he was getting himself some help and he was going to do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
At some point, there's been someone, whether they was internal or not, despite them probably not being internal with him, family-wise or friend-wise, there's been people externally who has tried to give him information, who have tried to give him the blueprint, give him some game, as we say, about what he should or shouldn't be doing. So for a person who's coming from a place of experience like me, I understand that if you don't listen, at some point, not listening is going to cost you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a professional athlete or not. That's just the life we live in. You have to listen to someone. If it's not your parents, you're going to listen to your teacher. If you don't listen to your teacher, you're going to listen to the principal. If you don't listen to the principal, you're going to listen to the Board of Education. If you don't listen to the Board of Education, you're going to listen to a parole officer or a probation officer. Or somebody is going to rule over you as an individual throughout life. Somebody is going to always have the authority to tell you something. That's just the life we live in, right? And if you don't listen and adhere to that, BMac, you're going to find yourself in these type of situations. And unfortunately, he was reprimanded the first time. Mm-hmm. Some people gave him a pass, wrote it off to his age, wrote it off to inexperience. But then now you take the last incident along with other incidents, pointing the red beam out the back of the truck with the friends of wanting to fight the opposing team. Like all of these things come into play and into consideration, now leading into this most recent incident. So now it's like you're hearing, but you're not listening. And not listening is what has him where he is right now, in my opinion.
No question. And for me, and I love to get our audience to chime into our comment section. Let us know what you think about this Ja Morant situation. That's going to be an ongoing story outside of the NBA finals that will occur in the next few weeks or so. We're going to talk about this story until they actually hand down the suspension. And probably after the suspension is handed down, we're still going to be talking about this because he's a superstar. And going back to something you said a few moments ago about some people gave him a pass the first time because of his age, right? Mm-hmm. Me personally, I don't fall in that same lane as giving him a pass because of his age. And here's why. Hear me out. If you ever been around babies, right? As an infant, now I won't say infant, but as a toddler, right? And if that baby did something they're not supposed to do, and you jump on it right then and there, you can go do your little baby talk. No, you're not supposed to do that. No. You can hit the hand. You can do whatever discipline action you think is worthy of doing it to the child. They get to understand it. Like if you see a 4-year-old go to the cookie jar, a 5-year-old, and you discipline that child and say, no, don't do that, they won't go to that cookie jar anymore. And they listen as a toddler. the thing about babies, they don't have an ego yet. So because they don't have an ego, they adhere to what they're supposed to do and not supposed to do. In the case for Ja, his ego is getting the best of him.
Absolutely.
The image that he has created for himself, being a celebrity, that status, the money, and he just wants to do what he wants to do. And like you said, sometimes the best light for people to get on them is to hit rock bottom for them to realize, oh, I'm really tripping right now. And money just makes you more who you already are. If you was a fool before you got the money, man, you can be a bigger fool when you get the money. If you was a guy who felt like I can do my own thing, man, when you get that bag, you're really gonna showcase and show who you are. And unfortunately for Ja Morant, the people that surrounded him, they're just they're more of a bigger fool than he is. You know what I'm saying? Well, and that's why he's not really being held accountable, because that video, Baz, it was his friend that pulled out the Instagram live.
Well, see, in this most recent video, if you really look at it, I think he even caught the friend off guard. Yes, they was recording. Yes, they was on Instagram Live, but I don't think his friend knew he was going to pull.
He pulled it down. He put it. Yeah, he did. Yeah, you're right.
Camera down. I think he caught him off guard.
Which makes Instagram. If that's the case, that makes Ja look makes Ja look worse, because your friend didn't know you was having a gun out.
Because what happened is, he's a superstar, like you said. So if he's on Instagram Live, you got all of these thousands of people on the live.
Yep.
Somebody is recording it so they can have it for themselves for later, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That posted it on social media. I believe somebody watching the live posted it. I think he caught his friend off guard. I think when he pulled that gun out, I think his friend was like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I can see that. Because how fast when the friend put the camera on Ja, he saw the gun, he put the phone down.
He put the phone down.
You're right. Yeah.
Too late. It was too late. So, to your point about, and let me be clear, when I mentioned you and others earlier, I wasn't saying that you were one of those that gave him a pass. You were one of the ones who voiced their opinion about his behavior.
Yes, sir.
And spoke in the direction of what to do and what not to do. And it's like you said, in terms of ego. And it's ego, and it's the 3 E's: ego, enabling, entitlement. Right? If you have the analogy that you used about the toddlers, you can have a person who's been raised the way you described, and then when they reach the point of having their own identity, identifying with themselves, what they like, what they don't like, they're going to start to do exactly what they want to do, despite what they've been taught, right? See, Ja Morant is fighting against more forces than we may know. When you have instance where his mother gets into a situation at a mall,
and she called him,
and he comes with all of his homies. Sister get into an incident at school, he goes with all his homies. See, somebody has to have the wherewithal to say, don't call Ja. I'm not even a celebrity or superstar, as you say. Something can happen with one of my siblings, something can happen with my mother, depending on what it is. I know for a fact my mother is going to use discernment about which one of her children she's going to call. I'm probably going to be last. Baby brother is going to be next to last. And my baby sister going to be next to last, because my mother knows these are her 3 emotionally reactive children. She knows that we're the ones that's going to react first. You know, I'm not like that anymore, but I'm saying when you know. So my mother would know not to call me, Kirby, or Elisha. She might call Kevin, Kim or Erica, because she can say what need to be said. She's not gonna have to deal with a whole bunch of screaming and hollering and talking over and where you at? What? She got, if she need to have a sound conversation, she gonna call one of those other three, not these three over here. So it's the same thing with Ja. Like, call him for what? If something happens to him, it's over for everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
You do not call the money. You do not call the breadwinner of the family to the beef. You don't do that.
You got to protect them.
So when you see things like this, you know, when you hear, you know, and I'm very, 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 very careful of speaking about hearsay. So I'm going to overemphasize that what I'm about to say is just strictly hearsay. But when you hear stories about how him and his dad interacts with each other socially, coupled with the incidents that you saw about his mother in the media, then you start to gather some sort of understanding about why he is as illogical as he is at times. Mm-hmm. You know, and again, I try not to be disrespectful or belittling of anybody's parenting, because I don't care how old you are as a parent. You can only parent based on how you were parented or your experience as a parent. You can only parent based on what you know. Some parents get it early, some parents get it later, some parents never get it at all.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, you know, put targets on the backs of his parents, but what I am going to say is that his upbringing has a lot to do with his decision making. And
I agree.
And it's up to him, though, BMac. It's up to Ja, even though he's a young man, despite his upbringing, despite the inconsistencies or inhibitions that he may face in his upbringing, he still has enough bandwidth to know what type of money he's getting, what type of position he's in, and do I want to go further or do I want to go backwards? He has enough sense to know he don't want to go backwards. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't have enough sense, then life is going to kick in. And what I mean by life kicking in, everybody that has money and everybody that we deem to be successful because of what we see them do and have are not blessed. Some people are cursed with wealth. Some people are given wealth for a period of time so you can see what not to do if you get some wealth, and then it's removed from them. And then they got to start over and learn that life lesson and maybe approach life a different way to try to regain whatever it is that they lost, if they can regain it. So for me, somebody like Ja Morant, it could very well be that life is lifing for him. And it could very well be a situation where if he's going to refuse to adhere to the responsible position that he's in and exude the behavior that's expected of him as a professional, then it could very well be a situation where we're all witnessing him to be the example of what not to do when you put in certain situations. Because a lot of people are saying, oh, well, his gun could have been legal. He was in his own driveway. We see white people with guns all the time. We see the congressman take pictures with guns in his family. People are forgetting that this is not about the gun. This is about an organization and a corporation that you work for and represent, who already asked not to do this. You was reprimanded for it, and you turned around and did it again. It's not illegal to go to work late. But if you've been written up for being late for work,
exactly.
Oh, not to come late to work again, and you go to work late again, no, you're not going to be arrested, but you damn sure getting fired.
No question. No question. Or suspended.
This is about respecting the protocol of your employer. They hate it or love it. This is what we asked you not to do because you represent us. So it's not about the gun.
You're right. It's not like the NBA has a rule in place where their players can't own guns.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they don't have a rule in where you can't own a gun. No, you can own a gun, but what we do not want to be a thing is you being shown in a public light flashing guns, because the NBA is a sport. Children watch the sport. Ja Morant is a young player that children love to watch because he's an entertaining player. He's dunking on people. He's giving these fancy moves, no-look passes, alley-oops, and things like that. Children gravitate to that. That's why I'm a Laker fan to this day, because in the mid-'80s, it was only two teams on TV, the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. I gravitated to the Lakers because Magic made the game look fun. No-look passes. So as a child, I was watching Magic. The Lakers. That's what a lot of children do. They watch superstars, young superstars. They love Steph Curry. This would be the same thing if this was Curry doing the same thing. Ja has that type of impact on fans, specifically speaking, children. Yeah. And the NBA is not going to tolerate that. They gave him a pass the first time. They gave him a pass. Issue a public apology for your image and for our brand. Let's move on, Ja. Shabazz, think about this. The first incident was wrong. Clearly a lapse of just thinking, right? But we moved on from that. We weren't talking about that anymore. We were just talking about maybe improving their team. Now Ja comes back and do the same thing about a month later.
And his was crazy. In my opinion, he got a pass for the most serious part. He was in another city.
Yeah.
He wasn't in Memphis.
He was in Denver.
He was in Denver.
Yep.
Which means one of two things. You either have somebody in Denver where you got that gun from, or you brought this gun on the team plane.
Facts. And Jalen Rose tried to kind of ask, didn't Jalen Rose ask him in that interview, like, who gun was it? And he clearly, but how did you get the gun, Ja? Like, how, you weren't at home? You weren't at the crib?
Sometimes, I know Jalen come up in the era that he come up in, and I know he come up on hard times, but sometimes I be wondering, like, these dudes that say they know the streets, I'd be wondering, like, what streets were you in? Because that was an extreme inappropriate question.
Yeah, you asked that. What do you think you're going to get as a response?
Now, whose gun was it? Now, yeah. whoa, wait a minute.
I didn't sign up for that one, Jay.
You know what I'm saying? I know, like I had in my off the record conversations, the NBA gonna press them. They're gonna press them about whose gun that was.
Yeah, they're supposed to.
Because they want to know if it was on that plane.
Yeah, which is huge because you put a lot of people in harm's way if that's the case.
Of course, man. So it's like, so when they were able to issue what they issued for that, and like you said, move forward. The last thing, to be honest, when I saw it again, I'm like, okay, so why is this resurfacing? We already talked about Ja Morant and the gun. I didn't even notice at first that it was a second incident.
It was a new one. Yeah, that's what you like, man. This man tripping.
To his defense, he did not mean for that to get out. He didn't mean for it to get out. I honestly believe that somebody who was watching that live recorded it, and they put that. But it goes back to what I just said a little while ago about my mother. You never know who's watching.
But also, too,
them people said, don't do that. Dog, you shouldn't have did it.
Also, too, even though he didn't think it would get out, you saw your homeboy on Instagram Live. That's the thing. So even if you know your homeboy's on Instagram Live, you don't know if he's going to put you on a camera or not. But 9 times out of 10, you already know most homeboys, when they got a famous guy that they hang around all the time, what they do. Here I go. I'm in the car. Look where we at. Here go my boy. So to what Ja, you know your boy's on Instagram Live. If you know you got a pistol in your lap, leave it down there.
I don't even think it was in his lap. I think it was in his pocket. His man put the camera on him. If you look at it, he put the camera on him and did exactly what you did, what you said, and then he put it back to himself. And I think he went to go put it on him again. He didn't realize that when he moved the camera, because if you saw it, Ja went to fumbling because he went to go get the gun. He wanted to put the gun on Instagram.
Yeah, that's even worse.
He just didn't want it to. I don't think he wanted it to. I don't think he thought about it getting out.
But he already know, man. He Ja Morant. Even if his homeboy got 400 followers, right? And let's say when he was on live, only 20 of them was watching. When they saw him with Ja,
it don't take but a second to
exactly.
do it.
Exactly. And my uncle used to tell me all the time, Bass, success ain't for everybody because a lot of people can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, they say money changes people, right? But money doesn't. Money just magnifies who you already are.
Yeah, that's yes. If you was a fool before, if you was a broke fool, think about how many fools you know growing up that were just like, boy, this man here just loose cannon. Wow, being poor, right? Being poor. Hey, boy, you mess around and fall and across of a bag. Now you're like, oh, we already know what's about to happen.
Pure foolery.
No question. No
pure
question.
Foolery, bro. Pure foolery.
It's a sad thing to watch. And I'll say this, if he doesn't change the trajectory of where he's going, this might be the biggest fall from grace that did not involve substance. You know, usually guys will get out the league because they can't put down the weed or the drink or, you know, any other street drug. But as far as what we know, we don't know that substance is the reason why he's doing what he's doing. So if he don't change the course of where he's going, I mean, and this is my question for you before we let you go, and chime in for our listeners and our viewers as well. If they gave him 8 games for the first gun offense, and basically a month later, he's doing the same thing, what do you expect the NBA to do in regards to punishment for Ja Morant?
I expect them to suspend him for no less than the first half of the season. If not the whole. And the reason why I say that is because we gave you 8 games, right? Game suspension. You didn't do something else. You didn't do something additional. You did the same exact thing we already suspended you for.
Yeah.
You did the same exact thing that we already suspended you for. So now, I believe what comes into question, BMac, is this. As great as he is, as superb as he is on that wood, the question now becomes, do you want to play in the NBA? Do you want to be a professional basketball player? And I believe that the punishment that they hand out this time is going to give him enough time to not only think about that, but also to show it. So if he gets suspended for 41 games, in that 41 game suspension time period, the NBA will be watching his behavior. They'll be watching his interactions. They'll be watching everything related to Ja Morant, even though he's not with the team. Somebody's going to be watching to see if he wants to be a ball player. Is he still working out? What is his behavior like? Is he a changed man? Has he called us and said, you know, I respect what y'all, you know, had to do, and I'm doing what I have to do, and I'll see y'all back after this suspension, and I'm going to be a better Ja Morant? Is he going to take accountability for it? Because if he doesn't, what I expect to happen after that, if they don't see what they think is a significant change before they bring him off suspension, because I don't think it'll be, okay, 41 games suspended, once it's done, bring him back. I think it's going to be a arbitrary period after that to see what he's been doing during suspension. And if they're not satisfied, I think they might try to buy his contract out and be done with him. Because they're not going to play with him, because he's, like I said in my video, he's inviting.
Yeah.
He is inviting street activity into his life. He's inviting it to himself.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. It created a magnet This is all street. He's being a street antagonist. And dudes that's really in the street, they take it personal when guys that don't have to do these things and they got a bunch of money and they acting like this and they don't have to. So
yeah,
he's extremely careful.
Yeah, these incidents are basically self-inflicted. It'd be one thing if he was in the confines of his neighborhood and he didn't know and he just had a gun to himself, right? He didn't know someone was filming him from afar. That's different, right? It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna do it myself. He took a picture of himself in the nightclub. Your homeboy on Instagram Live, you decide to pull out a gun. Right. You did that. So right. Yeah. I'll say this. I agree with you. I think he probably will get at least half of the season. But if they gave him 41 games, Baz, he need to be thankful because I think they're going to hit him with a full year. And the reason why I say a full year is because outside of these two most recent gun incidents, look at everything else he's been involved in that has been negative. The mall incident, the punching a 17-year-old kid for whatever reason, the kid hit you with a ball, you still punched him, right? The incident that happened with his father, I remember against the Lakers when Shannon Sharp and his father, they had a little melee. Even though Ja wasn't personally involved in that, that was his dad. How many fathers you see doing that or loved ones doing that? Getting ready to get in a fight with somebody during a ball game. Like all of these incidents, they are associated with Ja Morant. So for the league, understanding and knowing how guns are portrayed already, knowing one of your bigger superstar players or have been involved in guns, kids love him to this day. He's probably one of the most liked player that kids gravitate to because he's entertaining.
Yeah, since Allen Iverson.
No question. So for the league, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, man, because we gave him 8 games the first time, we thought he learned his lesson, and little than a month later, he did self-inflicted. We're going to hit him with a full year. No pay.
And I wouldn't be surprised because again, if I'm Adam Silver, my question is going to be, is this what you want? Do you want to be a basketball player or do you want to be
a rifleman,
a projective gangster? Like which one do you want to be? Because again, and people have to understand this because so many people are getting this misconstrued. And I said it and I want to reiterate it.
Yep.
Don't make this about the gun. Don't make, because if Ja Morant was at the gun range, if Ja Morant was somewhere, hunting, if Ja Morant doing anything other than what he was doing, we're not having this.
It's not an issue. Correct.
The NBA say Ja Morant can't have no interaction with guns.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can't do is you can't be on social media
flashing them,
singing rap lyrics and putting the gun to your temple. You can't do that. Or wait the car and when the car the screenshot, it looked like you got it to your temple. It just looks bad.
It just looks bad.
The question is ultimately, do you want to be a professional basketball player in this league? And when they give whatever punishment that they're going to give, I believe that's going to be the undertone of it. And I believe that whatever they decide to do, before they even bring him back, they're going to look at whatever he does in that time span, and they're going to conclude whether or not they feel like he wants to be an NBA player or not.
Yeah. It's a tough situation, man. And when you have that type of money, you can have whatever security you need. Like, that's another thing I have. Why, you riding in a foreign vehicle, probably 150 plus. Where you going that you got to have a gun on you right now? Like,
BMac, me being who I am, at times I move with security.
That's what I'm saying, Ja. Like,
it's too easy to trace. No matter how positive I am on social media, everybody don't like me. So when I'm moving around in certain places, I might have somebody with me.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing, it comes down to again, he's young, he's impressionable, he's influenced, He's not an influencer. He's influenced by his upbringing, the times that we're living in, the music that's being played. So I get it. He has a lot of negative influence around him. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he has a personal obligation. Put everybody to the side. He has a child, from what I understand.
Yep.
Obligated to. But then himself, you have a personal obligation, dog, to make sure yours don't get raised like you did. You have an opportunity to change the whole dynamic of your family tree. Is that what you want to do, or do you want to blow all the leaves off?
Man, Ja Morant needs to efface every rap song off his playlist because he's too influenced by these rap lyrics, and just listen to some straight R&B. Maybe that might give him a different tone, because he can't control when he's fired up, man, and whatever he's sipping on, it gets the best of him. Because right now what we're saying doesn't make any sense. For him to do the same thing, I think his ego is getting the best of him. He has nobody around him that's willing to say, "Hey, bro, we about to go riding real quick. Oh, you got the gun on you? No. You don't need no gun. Leave that. We're not doing that, bro. You don't need no gun around you at all. Let me hold it."
Have somebody around him saying that, dog. Someone has to say that. But unfortunately, far too often, more often than not, a lot of people around people like Ja Morant don't have nothing to lose. And when you got people around you who have nothing to lose, they'll watch you lose everything.
And they're too afraid to tell you what is right because they don't want to get cut off.
Yeah, because they don't have nothing going on. See, and this is why guys who have money typically will always have it when you see that they have a circle around them that's either small or people around them who have their own things going on. Like one of my closest friends is Tracy McGrady, right? Mm-hmm. Been knowing Mac 19 years. And he's one of the people that I'm gonna always talk about when I talk about doing it the right way in terms of your finances, being a retired NBA player, and the people that you have around you. Mac is one of those guys that you can't be a leech around him. You can't be around and don't have your own thing going on. You cannot. Mm-hmm. And he's been like that in the 19 years that I've known him. I've never seen him fall victim to having the wrong people around him. And there's several others, but he just comes to mind immediately. Like, you have to have people around you that got their own thing going on, because if they are solely dependent upon you, then they are going to allow you to do things that could make the whole situation crash and burn, because all they care about is what perks and benefits they're getting from being around you.
Facts.
And if they tell you, like you said, if they tell you anything, they scared that the system. Yep. And those are the worst people to have around you, bro.
Man, Jay-Z said it best, man. You find out who your true friends are when you both got money, because ain't no strings attached. When you both got some bread, you find out who your true friends are, because I don't need him for anything. He don't need me for anything. Let's see exactly where our relationship goes, because I can get whatever I need to go. He can do the same thing. You find out who your true friends are when you both got money.
Are we still friends if we don't have to be around each other?
Exactly. When I don't need you to pay for my meal or to get me into this spot or to navigate, get me into this club or whatever. Am I still gonna hang with you?
If you got money and he don't, you never know how he really feel about you, because he needs you.
He needs you. Yes.
If y'all both broke, it ain't no strain on the relationship.
Facts. No question. No question,
when
man.
Both got some paper, you'll see.
You'll see. No question.
And guys, they scared to have guys around them with money.
Yeah.
Because them having and nobody else having automatically illuminates them.
Yeah. It puts them as the outlier. You know what I mean? They're the head of the class now. It feeds their ego. You know what I mean? It feeds their ego when they're the big man always around the table. Oh, I'm the one. You need me. I do this. It makes me feel like I'm a boss man right now.
And a lot of times they're not the smartest one. They got the money, but they're not the smartest one at the table.
Facts. And that's what we're kind of seeing right now. with this Ja Morant. I say that's what we're seeing right now with this Ja Morant situation.
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
What I mean?
I've said this from the beginning, and I'll continue to say it. When I say the beginning, I mean when he got in trouble the first time. I don't want to see him lose all of his money. I don't want to see his career go down the drain. I don't want to see him go to jail. I don't want to see him get hurt. I don't want to see no gangs start extorting him. I don't want to see for this young kid, man, because us as Black people, especially us as Black men, have it hard enough. If we could scratch and survive and use our talents, our wit, our education, our musical ability, whatever it is that we can use and do to change our financial circumstances, that will change not only for us, but our family. I want to see that happen. But we have to understand the responsibility that come with that. And if we lose it, or if we throw it all away, the same people 9 out of 10 times who was there with us while we was throwing it all away, those people look back at you and they're gonna call you dumb. They're gonna say, when you was with me, they're gonna say, well, you didn't have to be with me. It's gonna always fall back on you.
Yeah, no
doubt. Always fall back on you. So I really hope Youngin get it together. And to be honest, I hope his parents exude a different level of understanding, especially his dad, because his dad is around him quite a bit. So
his dad seems more of a friend, a homeboy.
Yeah, and that ain't that's never gonna work. My son about to turn 26. I never partied with my son. And not to say that I won't, not to say that anything is wrong with it. But I don't care how old he gets, I'm still his dad.
Yes, you're not a friend. I'm not your homeboy.
Line. I don't care if the line is imaginary. He know it's there. I know it's there. I don't care if the line is invisible. There's a line between parent and children that is never supposed to dissipate. Never supposed to dissipate, man. So hopefully, just as a family unit, as you know, hopefully this will shake the whole room up and be like, hold on,
we tripping.
Let's regroup. Not you. We tripping.
Yeah, let's get it together. Put a plan in place.
We are bugging right now. Now is the time for extreme accountability to take place.
Yeah, because the league is fed up. It's only a matter of time before we actually hear what the suspension is. For you guys that are watching us on YouTube, listening to us on your podcast platform, chime into the comments. What do you think the punishment will be for Ja Morant whenever Adam Silver and the NBA comes down with their punishment? Hope you really enjoyed this conversation in regards to, unfortunately, Ja Morant. We should be talking about the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals, but everybody is talking about Ja Morant because he's that type of player. Once again, thank you to Shabazz the OG for joining me here, All Things Covered. Man, like I said, follow him on Instagram. Quality, insightful content daily. Not weekly, but daily. He's always dropping knowledge. He already said he don't mind going back and forth with you. The man answers every DM that's received. Motivational speaker, the money team motivator, big time family friend of Floyd Money Mayweather, social media influencer, community activist, a guy that's doing a lot of quality sound things with his time on this earth. And you better believe he's a beast at it, by the way. Representing Philly, by the way, right?
West to be exact.
West Philly, man. West Philly. That's Will Smith, right? That's where Will Smith from, right?
Yeah, Will a little further up the hill.
He up the hill. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your Sixers had an early exit. You know what I mean? But y'all got next year.
Listen, it happened. It happens.
Hey, Baz. I said this for the Philadelphia natives. Y'all was extremely hopeful, and then it kind of crashed because the Eagles, they had their run and ultimately led to a loss in the Super Bowl. And then seeing what happened with the 76ers, you know what I mean? But, it's a sports city. So, y'all going to be right back again next year.
It's a sports city, man. And one thing for certain, two things for sure, like Philadelphia rides hard for the Eagles, the Sixers, the Phillies, and it's
everything.
It's a blue collar sports city, man, and they take it to heart. They really, really do. They really do. So it was a big disappointment. I mean, I think they fired Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers might have got fired before the last put up on the clock. They got him
Facts.
right.
Yeah, Doc is out of there, man. Doc is out of there. But that's the nature of the beast in that
Yeah,
business. Yeah, it comes with the territory. But hey, Baz, once again, thank you for joining me. You're always welcome to the show. Like I said, for our listeners and our viewers, man, if you're on social media, give him opportunity to get your eyes and your ears. You won't be disappointed.
I
Peace.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Anytime.